Most people think the post-war middle class happened because leaders finally figured out the right policies. Policy mattered, but it sat on top of something more basic: cheap energy that did an absurd amount of work for almost no cost. Picture a 1950s household on one income: a new house, a car, a fridge, and a weekly grocery run that didn't require a spreadsheet. Now jump to today: two incomes, longer commutes, higher rent or a bigger mortgage, and the feeling that you're running faster to stay in place. What if the secret ingredient wasn't a lost set of values or a single law we forgot to pass, but a one-time physical bargain that made everything else easier? Here's the X-ray view. Energy turns into productivity. Productivity sets the ceiling for wages and prices. And when that ceiling stops rising, the system reaches for debt and asset inflation to keep the lifestyle going. Fossil fuels weren't just fuel. They were like millions of invisible workers in the background, doing heavy lifting for pennies an hour. Every time you flip a light switch, drive to work, or buy something shipped across an ocean, you're hiring those invisible workers. When they're cheap, you can build big, move far, and waste time and materials without it showing up as pain. When they're not cheap in net terms, the same choices start to feel like a tax on your life. To make this concrete, you need one concept: net energy, which is the paycheck after taxes, not gross revenue. EROI means energy returned on energy invested, and the simplest way to think about it is squeezing oranges. If 1 hour of squeezing gives you a gallon of juice, you can throw a party. If 1 hour gives you a glass, you guard every sip. Early oil was the gallon per hour version. Shallow wells, easy refining, simple logistics, huge surplus. As extraction gets harder, you can still have a lot of oil, but more of your effort goes into getting it, moving it, and keeping the whole machine running. After World War II, the tailwind stacked up in a way that doesn't repeat on command. Suburbia was a lifestyle subsidized by cheap gasoline and cheap materials, long drives, big lawns, two-car garages, and roads everywhere. Highways made that commute feel normal, and cheap oil made it feel affordable. Factories scaled up with electrification and mechanization, so a worker with a machine could output far more than a worker with a hammer. At the same time, the US had massive industrial dominance, while much of the rest of the world was rebuilding and buying, which kept demand strong and competitors fewer. You can see the same energy multiplier in food and goods. Industrial agriculture runs on fertilizer made from natural gas, diesel for tractors, refrigerated storage, and trucks that turn a continent into one big pantry. Mass manufacturing got cheap because energy made heat, motion, and precision easy at scale. And container shipping made distance feel like a rounding error. Even commercial flights fit the pattern. Jet fuel turned a trip that once took days into hours, and the ticket could still be within reach for a growing middle class. When energy is abundant and high quality, the whole economy feels like it has power steering. Then the story turns, and the 1970s oil shocks are the obvious pivot, because they hit people in the face. Gas lines, sudden price jumps, and a new sense that the basics weren't guaranteed. But the deeper shift is that the easy energy era matured, and the system had to spend more to get the same net energy. At the same time, globalization moved a lot of manufacturing to lower-wage regions, which kept many goods cheap, but changed wage bargaining power at home. And as societies get more complex, more resources go to maintenance and coordination, compliance, administration, healthcare billing, credentialing, layers of management. More gears in a machine means more friction, and if you keep adding gears, more of your energy goes into the gears instead of the output. When real growth slows, debt becomes the substitute, because debt is pulling future growth into the present. Low interest rates can make monthly payments look manageable, while pushing asset prices up, especially housing. So you don't feel richer, you just feel more trapped. That's why the middle class question often sounds like, why can I buy a flat screen TV so cheaply, but I can't buy a house near my job? Productivity gains today also concentrate differently. Platforms and automation can scale with fewer workers, so the benefits don't spread through wages the way factory expansion once did. Add demographics reversing, with an aging population and slower workforce growth. And the math of pensions, healthcare, and tax bases gets tighter even before politics enters the room. Renewables and modern tech are real, and they can make parts of life cheaper and cleaner, especially when you electrify things that used to burn fuel. But they don't rewind the old system, because intermittency, storage, grid build-out, and materials all add cost and complexity, and energy quality matters as much as energy quantity. The honest frame is not "we're out of energy," it's the net energy bargain is different, and the simple high surplus setup of the mid-century economy is gone. So prosperity starts to look less like bigger houses and longer commutes, and more like housing where jobs are: insulation, heat pumps, reliable grids, durable goods, and infrastructure that wastes less energy. The middle class wasn't only a policy story, it was an energy story. And the new playbook begins when you see the physical layer under your paycheck. What do you think prosperity should mean now, when the invisible workers cost more? The one-sentence takeaway is, cheap energy built the middle class.